Brother Jabril, Brother Jabril, Brother Minster, you have been ill for the last few years. What are just some of the immediate lessons you would like to share with others about going through such an experience? What comes immediately to your mind about how to help them get through such an experience as illness? Minister Farrakhan, Allah says in the Holy Quran, He created man and woman to face difficulty. In another place, it says, Allah has ordained struggle. I've never read it in the Quran, but it's there in other words, that Allah has ordained pain as the mother of new reality, as the mother of new reality. So we cannot go through life without pain. We cannot go through life without difficulty. We cannot go through life without struggle. God has ordained this because these are the circumstances of life that manifest the quality of our character, our heart, and the core of our being. If the heart is diseased, the person is indeed ill. When a misfortune befalls the believer, the Holy Quran says, Allah is my patron, and to him is my eventual return. What beautiful words. He's my patron. He's my backup. He's my support. He's my friend. Well, if my eventual return is to him, what are the events that come up in my life that might bring me to the point of return? If I am ugly over an event in my life that suggests return, then I'm not really a true believer in God. If I go through that difficulty with an improper attitude, then it makes manifest a poor sickness in myself as an individual. Whatever your lot is in life, the attitude that you take toward the thing that God has permitted in your life, that you may have brought about, or that God brought about to permitted to be brought about. However you look at it, the Holy Quran says, good is from Allah. Misfortune is from Allah. It is all from Allah. Even though sometimes we have a hand in producing our misfortune, yet it could not have happened. It could not have happened unless Allah permits it. So he takes full responsibility. So now, what is your attitude? How do you like that? Okay, I'm going to let your own foolishness bring something on you. How do you like that? God, why me? I always knew you didn't love me. I always knew you didn't care about me. I hate you, God. I love my daughter. I love my son. Why did you take my son? Why did you take my daughter? Oh, my God, I served you well. I prayed. I did all of this. No, I find I got cancer. I got multiple sclerosis. I got this disease or that disease. Hush, hush, hush. Yes, but the worst disease you could have is disease of the heart, which the manifestation of this physical illness has brought about or make manifest in you. So I thank Allah that when I was at the doorway of death, I never asked him to spare my life. I thanked him for my life. And I thanked him for allowing me the privilege of living in the majesty of his universe and beholding his greatness. I thanked him for allowing me to serve, and I thank him for the pain that I was suffering, and it was excruciating. I thank him for the pain, and I thanked him for the pain that I was suffering, and it was excruciating. It was my attitude that even further purified my heart for greater service for God. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sister Bridget.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was a lot in a short time. Anyone wants to elaborate on that was just read?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So the reading is telling us that whatever happens, good or bad, Allah Allah is the one that makes it happen, whether he allows it to happen to us or he allows us to fall in our own wrongdoings. All of this he allows. He allows these trials for us to learn. And as the Swan song, and Mr. Farrakhan spoke, when he said that the Swan song is for us who rebels, then sometimes our fall, we might never get up from this that Allah allows us to fall into. Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that if we don't change our negative self, then Allah will turn us to that negative self and allow it to destroy us. And we should always understand that everything comes from Allah, even if we have a hand in it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sister Bridget. Anybody else? This is deep, brothers and sisters. I want to add something to it from the message on the 27th. The minister says, when you follow a divine man, do you think the road to God is just like you want it to be? Do you think the road to greatness is like you want it to be? Do you think the road to oneness with God is the way you want it to be? So those are questions that Minister Farrakhan asked in his message, the Swan Song message. So life is always going to present trials and challenges. And we always say this in our studies, that the trials that we face in life, sometimes the trials are meant to make us better. But in some circumstances, the trials make us worse because we do not understand trials. We do not understand the importance of growth, because we all weren't born big. See, we came up through the vicissitudes of life, and we had to struggle to stand. We had to struggle to walk. And then in the journey of life, our body went through different stages, metamorphosize, as they say, transforming from one stage of growth into another stage of growth. And through every stage of growth, there is our work chemical changes, changes in the chemistry of our bodies. And sometimes, even if we didn't notice, but others around us would notice. So Minister Farrakhan just explained how he handled his illness. No, this is truly an extraordinary human being, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He said he thanked God for allowing him to serve and allowing him to do the time that God allowed him. And he thanked God for his pain. Last night we read where the minister spoke about 50 Cent and the experience that 50 Cent had gone through, you know, the shots that he got and what that made him into as a person. We know the story of R. Kelly and what R. Kelly said he experienced as a boy, and because of his experience, what it made him into. In one way, R. Kelly was made into a giant, not a monster now, a giant in terms of his art and his expression. The minister explained to us how Beethoven was able to play the Beethoven symphonic with the orchestra that he played with, and what came out of that in terms of sound and what he was going through in his life. You see, we sit where we sit and we look at people, but we don't know what gives them what they share with us. It is experiences that gives human beings a certain type of art or artful expression that they share with the world, especially when you sing and when you play music. It comes out of you based on what comes out of you is what is inside of you. While at the same time, R. Kelly made himself into a monster. Notice I didn't say he was made into a monster, because what happened to him, he developed an artful expression as a result of what happened to him, but at the same time, he allowed himself to become a monster as a result of his experience. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we look at him as a great orator. Yes, he has oratorical skills. Allah blessed him with that. But we never see behind the articulation. We never see what he has gone through, or I've never seen what he is going through. I remember in around 1996, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan visited Jamaica, the national arena, and he spoke. I think it was a Father's Day message that he delivered. And around 1997, or 98, I was reading an article, Farrakhan the Traveler, by Brother Jibril Muhammad. And Brother Jibril Muhammad was explaining in the article what the minister was going through around a certain time and the pain that he was enduring around that time. And I reflected and I said, it was around that time while the minister was in Jamaica speaking for Father's Day. Nobody who looked at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan could hear pain or see pain. In sitting down, standing up in that audience, you couldn't hear any pain, you couldn't see any pain. But guess what? What he was giving to the world, he would, I'm saying this now. And we say this is opinionated, in my opinion. I don't believe the minister could have given the world what he has given the world if he had not gone through what he had gone through. His pain, his suffering, all of what he faced as a human being brought out of him, in addition to his oratorical skills, brought out of him what we see and we have gotten from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The difference with most of us is we punk out. When we go through pain, we lie down and bawl. Lord God, me dead. And we don't get up and continue to work and work until we are properly relieved from this post of life. There is so much in it, but I mean, I can't take it as a subject. Maybe another time. So I have to open up the floor for discussion. So let's go into it, brothers and sisters, because there's a lot in it and there's so much to chew on in this that we just read. And what we can do is probably take the time while somebody else is giving their understanding of it to look back at what was read before. So please go ahead, family. The floor is open.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
What comes over to me is where he speaks about the quality of our character. This will help with your healing. It is said that persons who are ill, most times, it is because of the mind, the will, wanting to live, they will be healed. But then here, remember, the heart cannot think on its own. But the heart is used here to describe why he was healed. He said if the heart is diseased, then the person is indeed ill. But look at his heart. It says most times your attitude, not most times, your attitude will determine your altitude, how far you can go. Look at what has happened. He says he was always grateful for whatever circumstances that he was going through. Some of the circumstances would have been illness, trials where persons put you through. In during his illness, he saw it no as persons who say just wanting to be alive, to be grateful for the things that I've done. I am giving God thanks. God, if you take anything from me, I submit. Earlier we read about the submission with the prayer, and he's saying, yes, this is it. I submit, I give my life. I know this is not my life, this is your life. You gave me this. So whatever you please to do, or God, whatever you want to do with me, I surrender, I give up. So it is your turn, God, do whatever you please. And you saw that within him. He said when he was in pain, he didn't cry out for, Lord, may I beg you, heal me. Persons with a simple headache bug out. They don't come on in the meetings. They say they have serious headaches, they have migraines, they have foot pain, they have toe, they had a stomach issue. So they didn't come out because I'm in so much pain. But then his attitude with his pain, you couldn't detect, because at no time you saw him grimace, no time you saw him with a sad face. You came to him into his presence, he would always give you the greeting with a smile, that cute smile. You wouldn't even know if it was pain, because deep down he blocked it. It was a mind thing. He blocked out all of the other circumstances, and he was just focusing on his mission, what he had to do. And that is why we couldn't understand that he was in so much pain. So his mind elevated him, or his heart, because he says the heart, if the heart is diseased, and disease means sometimes we have this bad mind. Sometimes we have this ingratitude towards the simplest thing. Sometimes we have envy. But he says, no, his heart was always giving Allah thanks, being grateful for whatever circumstances.
Thank you, ma'am. The floor is open.
Yes, sir. May I?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Praise be to Allah. So what I've learned while we study is that we have to always be on the alert. Not because we strive to be in one with Allah that everything is all right. Nothing is all right as long as we live in this world of Shaitan. And as we go through these trials and pains, in my experience, I try to look to see what errors I made that would bring this on to me. And if I can't see what the error is or the mistake was, I still say all praises to Allah. It don't matter. For these last couple of times, I have seen where I miss things. It's like I'm being protected by Allah, because the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "Don't wait till misfortune reach you for you call on Allah. Call on Allah, so that He protects your future. And protecting your future don't necessarily mean that you won't get burned, but it means that most of the time you are protected." And I miss accidents. I miss things. I see things happen, and I can say praise be to Allah, because that was my spot. I used to go there. I would have been there that time. But there are times when you actually go head on into this accident, whatever it is in your life, and you still have to give praise to Allah, because you're not gonna miss all of them. Some of them you're gonna head on, Sometimes you have to just walk through fire, as the Bible would put it. Yes, so we just always have to be on the alert. Always, regardless. Sir, thank you.
Thank you, Sister Bridget. Anybody else wants to add anything? Or do we move on to the other segment of the reading? Okay, I'm going to ask Sister Diane to pick up from where Sister Bridget stopped. Where, because of my attitude, that's about the 4th paragraph on page 308.
Yes, sir. Because of my attitude, Though I'm not completely healed yet, I'm not worried about it because my eventual return is to Allah. And if this is the means by which I return, well, that's the highway that I'm on. My return is to Allah. Maybe you'll take one highway. It's called tuberculosis. Another one is called AIDS. Another one is just called old age. Another one is called an accident that just happened. Well, this is life. Welcome to the planet. If you did not want to struggle, you should never have come. If you did not want misfortune, this is the wrong place for you. I don't say suicide is a good way out, but if that's what you wish to do, that's up to you because you're not willing to face difficulty. Well, let me kill myself. Let me destroy my life. Oh, that's so foolish. Your attitude toward the problem will help you to solve it if you have the correct attitude. For instance, if darkness has overcome you, you say, in the beginning there were total darkness. Yet there was a light sparkling in the darkness. Surely in this darkness there is a light. Let me seek it and I shall find it. Attitude.
Go ahead to the end.
I heard a
Let the
Christian preacher say, it is your attitude that will determine your altitude. And if you have an improper attitude toward misfortune, you won't get too high in the sight of God. To all who may read this, study this, take the attitude of love for God, love for Allah. Regardless to what He brings or allows into your life, I love you, Allah, and I thank you, for surely in my trial there is good for me because I know you mean good for me. I'll find good in it. The good student will always find some good in what the master teacher is doing to them. And in the end, they will understand that everything that he did to them, he was their best friend and patron because he did it all for them, willingly or unwillingly.
So, okay, so thank you, sister. So, okay, so here is Brother David, right? Yeah, Brother David. Assalamu alaikum, sir. No, Brother David has certain experiences that we all are aware of. Brother David, could you say that whatever you are going through, that it is Allah doing something for you and that it is good for you?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yes, sir. Even when I look back, even before as a Muslim, it shows that all that was happening was guiding me to this space. And as the sister said earlier in her presentation about it would not, especially if your mind is a stubborn one, it would not prevent you from the pitfalls, but it certainly would protect you from the snares of death, the physical death, because when you're stubborn, it's part of the action of death. So yes, sir. And as I had learned that whatever befalls me is not good, so to speak. It is I who would have brought that onto myself. And therefore, whatever the good that comes out of it, that is from Allah. And it's something that you gradually grow into because, as you earlier said, there's several challenges I have, but I get up with the attitude to always deal with them, not feeling sorry for myself. And I must tell my brother and sisters who are present that there were times when I did feel sorry for myself. There were times when I felt, why me? There was a time when I really spoke to God in a kind of way that when I look back at it, I thought that was disrespectful. Yeah. It's me crying out, but I had learned, and at no time there was no good intent for me as I go along. But I do know one thing it was, I don't know if it was the sports or it was in me, but my attitude is never one to give up. Yeah, I didn't, and always trying to claim the higher ground. So in those few words, beloved, I think it speaks to the question that you asked. And most of you would have been acquainted or seen some of the challenges that I have had. Allah has, because of his promises, and I believe them. Now I know them, which is different. So thanks, sir, for giving me the opportunity to speak, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Minister, your mic is muted.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, whatever happens, it is by Allah's active or permissive will. So let me read this paragraph again on page 308. God, why me? I always knew you didn't love me. I always knew you didn't care about me. I hate you, God. I love my daughter. I love my son. Why did you take my son? Why did you take my daughter? Oh God, I served you well. I prayed. I did all of this. Now I find I got cancer. I got multiple sclerosis. I got this disease or that disease. This is what the minister says. Osh, osh, osh. Yes, but the worst disease you could have is a disease of the heart, which the manifestation of physical illness has brought about or made manifest in you. So whatever we go through can cause the heart to become diseased.
Yes.
Diseased. When you are uneasy, that in and of itself becomes a disease. And that in and of itself can cause a disease when you become uneasy. So they tell you that most time when people manifest certain illnesses is when they go through trauma. And when you go through a particular trauma, your immune system breaks down. And at that moment when the immune system breaks down, whatever it is that was lurking in there as an enemy, it gets the opportunity now to manifest itself because of what you went through at that particular time. But here the minister is saying to us that if it happens one or two ways. By what we did, that Allah allowed. See, Allah permits. It is by Allah's active or his permissive will. The Holy Quran says not a leaf falls from the tree that Allah is not aware of. So you say then, why did Allah allow me to eat a certain type of food, knowing that if I eat this food, come on. If we love, if we love, we live. This is what Minister Farrakhan is saying here to us, Why don't you continue to love? If you love your people, you love God first. You love your people. Second, then illness won't stop you from working. And believe me, love is such a powerful force by itself that love can heal. Love can heal certain illness or illnesses. Won't mean you necessarily will come back 100% to what you used to be, but the cells won't die because hatred won't take over the cells.
Yes, sir.
So you live in sorrow and in mourning and in grief, and the cells the cells are there crying and tearing all day until they have no life left in them and you just retire. But when you go to bed at night thinking, thank you, Allah, for another day.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
you wake up in the mornings, oh Allah, I've worked today for my people. Guess what? The cells are alive because they know they have work to do. So you have another day and then you have another day, you keep going and somebody say, but oh, so and so not dead yet. You know, with all of the things I may hear him say, he might go through, him not dead yet. But love is such a powerful force, and love keeps us going. And love is what kept the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan keeps. And he has said it, that love is love is what drives him, the driving force behind his life. I want to just throw something in before we go on here from an article from Brother Jibril in Farrakhan the Traveler again. One day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to Minister Farrakhan as a star without equal. Why a star? We really need to be more scientific in our study of our brother and this whole teaching and work than many of us have been. Now, why a star? See, because a star is what you see out there at nights, and it's attractive. A star is a guide. Anybody who has ever gone to Crab Bush know that a star serves as a navigating system. So you go too deep in the bush and you say, but you don't remember which way to go. And you look up and you say, no man, them star they was over this. So you could follow the star them and go back that way. And you find your way back to your destination. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in all that he has suffered, and is still suffering, is a light gleaming in the darkness of our particular circumstances, our particular condition. We can look at this star and say, you know what? If Farrakhan can go through what he has gone through, I can go through this little thing that I'm going through and make it. And there's more to the star, a whole lot more, but just wanted to throw that in. The floor is open.
Sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Maria.
Yes. Listening to everybody's, views, what I get out of it, at least experience, as I've said earlier on, when my niece died from cancer, I almost forget about God because I was so hurt and said, if there was a God, why take her at so young age with 2 babies left behind with just a father, away from us? And after a while, well, I wasn't in, so close to the nation. I just wasn't praying. I was just going along my way and just know that whenever my time comes, it just comes. That is the way it is, the world is. But I was so saddened until even now. But going along and, as I said, listening to Minister Farrakhan, it brings me so closer to saying, but why not? People with more money dying from the same disease and don't even live that long because she had 6 months to live and she lived 4 years. I think that is ungrateful to say that. But I was just thinking of the children that she left behind without a mother, and knowing that I just figured it didn't have to happen so young, could give her some more time. But then I confess and I said, I'm sorry for thinking that. I know that God really forgive me in my ignorance at that time. So I'm just saying, no, just hearing all this, didn't know that he was going through so much suffering and pain and was still standing and showing us the way. And begging us to stay on the right path that he's on. And even when he's doing that, he was suffering, and then it will remind me again of Jesus when you read about him, what he went through. And he shouldn't have to go through it because he didn't do anybody anything. He was just an innocent, pure, humble person trying to do the right. Yet still he was crucified. So, as I said, I apologize to God because I shouldn't be like that. I should learn to know that in every difficulty, there's going to be ease because everything work out is going on fine now with the kids and ourselves. So as I said, the Minister Farrakhan took me a long way, take me really, really far. That's nothing bother me anymore, no matter what. Whether I live or I die, I'm gonna try. I believe I will die happy, knowing that this is the will of God.
Allahu
I'm just
Akbar.
Allah.
trying to be perfect, to go into it more. And I'm having difficulty getting there, but I believe it is gonna come true. I'm just taking one day at a time. That's my view. Thank you very much for listening.
Praise be to Allah, Sister Maria. Thank you for that testimony. Praise be to Allah. The scripture says he was bruised for our transgression, and he was wounded for our iniquity, and for his stripes we are healed. So again, all that he has gone through is for us. So that we think about that. Think about a man who had to suffer for the salvation of a people. Because without him, maybe we would have given up. Not maybe, a lot of us would have given up because we wouldn't have the star. We wouldn't be able to see out of the darkness in our personal circumstances and our personal situations. And that would have caused many of us to give up. But because he's there and we can see him as we go across the Red Sea, like Moses holding up, was it the 10 Commandments, brother? Are just being there with his hand up as a sign to say, I am here, come this way. His hand, come this way. And they say when his hands were falling, Joshua and others supported his hand, that the children of Israel could see that Moses is still there. Let's go because Moses is there. Let's go. We're going to get to Moses. Farrakhan is that Moses in our midst, brothers and sisters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fears are gone.
Yes, sir.
So because of what he has suffered and experienced, I can face, I can go when I'm ready in ease because I have somebody. Oh, this is so beautiful, brothers and sisters. You see, it is such a, yeah, and I'll permit you, brother David. I just saw something.
You want to go with it first?
Yeah, just let me just throw this in,
Yes,
and then you can come right after. Where was it? Regardless to what he brings or allows into your life, I love you, Allah. And I thank you for surely in my trial, there is good for me because I know you mean good for me. I'll find the good in it. Go ahead, Brother David.
Yes, sir. And I stem it from the first space that you were speaking from in terms of the star. Yes, where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying that he is a, what was the word? The adjective slipped out of it. The type of star is
Without
exceptional.
equal.
A star without equal.
far without equal.
Right.
That's an exceptional person, no equal. His talent is of such, yes, that brings into focus. It's like you're looking at Pele, or you're looking at Messi, yeah. Their talent, you cannot not notice and see it for what it is, yeah, or what it is. It is the word just slipping out, the resurrection of man, yeah. And if we notice, which I come to recognize, that he is the record is for man to come to success, come man. And he has had to explain to, it's not just black people him talking, he's here to relate to, if only but they'd come. And this no connect me to. You always remember the speeches from when he make them. I remember just the quotations in my head. Can't point them to it anyways. When he was speaking about my security, you know, and people would ask, why so much men are around him? And he said, when the queen, what was the name of it? One of the presidents. And he said, when he walks with his security, nobody questions that. When the Queen in England walks with security. Yeah? But I am important to people.
Yes, sir.
I am important to people more than those can be. And then he says, even though I am as important as the Pope is to white people, to people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If that, yeah. So I can, if they just allow me to do my work, and that is what relate to in this part now of that exceptional and that star, is that we now are able to see it, and becomes that guiding now to keep us away from our pitfalls that we keep reminding us, yeah, by virtually saying, was steadfast, was steadfast. Yes, sir. There's so much more flowing from what is happening in this passage and reading.
Yeah, I know, right? But well, all right, we'll allow for another 5 minutes just for anybody who wants to add, because now that there's so much flowing from it, maybe somebody who was quiet all along wants to throw in something now. So we'll allow another 5 minutes. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So Minister Farrakhan is saying that if the heart is diseased, then that is the worst. And we should always rely on Allah for when we experience misfortune. We should always remember that Allah is our patron, and to him is our final return. He's our backer, he's our support, he's our friend. And our attitude is, from Allah we came, and to Allah we will return. You spoke about disease, the highway disease, sickness, death, loss of property. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is saying that if you don't want these trials, then you should have never born, in my own humble opinion. Don't live if you don't want to experience these trials, because these trials will make you or break you depending on your attitude when you're going through these trials. And we have been taught in the Nation of Islam as well that a good word to an ill person can revive that person's emotion or how they feel. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. 8 minutes it takes, or less, to get
20
that
seconds.
person. 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, sir. It takes for a person to light up with the positive words that you speak to them, and it can take that same minutes, I assume, in my humble opinion, to break that person down. And, we just have to be careful what we say. Yes, sir. Praise
And,
be to God.
just to add to that, Sister Bridget, a whole nation has been sick and in need of healing. And truly the light in the word, because there is light and life in the word as well. And the light and life in the word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has touched so many, because there are mental diseases as well. It's not just physical illness that we go through. Most of the sickness that we go through is mental, emotional illnesses. We give so much trouble as Black people. We are menace to society as Black people. See, and because we live in the hood, yeah. So Minister Louis Farrakhan has healed us. Well, God has healed us. Allah has healed us through the words that come from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He placed it in this human being.
Yes, sir.
But when it touches us, it brings a healing within us mentally. And that's where the begins. And from there, everything changes. So now the mark of the beast no longer exists in the head. And so as long as it does not exist in the head, it does not exist in the hands. Because we've been healed here. So the beast have been overcome for the most part, because of the word that we heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
just to add, we could close out with saying, one of the best ways that we can show our gratitude to Minister Farrakhan's backers and our understanding of his significance and his presence and work and the times in which we live and the needs of the original people of this land is to spread the Savior's Day address Minister Farrakhan delivered on February 27, 2022.
Yes,
All praises due to
yes, ma'am.
Allah.
Yes, ma'am.
And we will end on that note. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu
So
Akbar.
let us close out with prayer, family. Let us bow our heads and pray in the manner in which we have been taught. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee do we serve and thee do we beseech for thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, not the path of those upon whom thy rod is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard thy teachings. Ameen.
Amen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Salam.
Walaikum salam, family.
Walaikum salam.